who explained us the difficult situation on the ground. The figures are really appalling. The way Russia is attacking Ukraine on missiles, on drones, and on guided bombs. Just on guided bombs, the Ukrainians has reported 7,000 in 4 months, which is about 16 guided bombs a day. And this is a constant shelling in the east. It's part of the Putin's strategy. On the other hand, it's clear that Ukraine lacks weapons to self-defense and to reject the Russia aggression. The impact on the electricity system of Ukraine is very high. I cannot give you a precise figure because it's very appalling, but the Ukrainian electricity is paying the highest price, is one of the most important targets of the Russian attack. You know why? Because electricity is needed for everything and for everybody. Well, there is a clear sense of urgency for the European Union and all the Ukrainian allies to act. And the most important way of acting is providing air defense batteries and ammunition for the batteries, interceptors. Batteries without interceptors, launchers without interceptors are not useful. Interceptors without launchers, neither. And the important thing is to supply interceptors and more support in order to protect the most important Ukrainian cities. At the same time, we don't have to forget the lack of ammunition for conventional fight with a 155 caliber. And many countries have been joining the Czech initiative in order to look for ammunition, everybody in the world. The first delivery will come end of May, 1st of June. And also others has shown their readiness to participate on the German initiative to concentrate, coordinate and push for the anti-aerial capacity. This has to be coordinated, but the two targets, the two purposes, the two objectives, more air defense systems and more ammunition of caliber 155 remains the most important targets for us. I am glad that some member states indicated their will to make concrete contributions in terms of air defense, systems of interceptors, or to support and enlarge the existing initiative as the Czech one in ammunition and the German one on the air defense. On the situation in Gaza, before going to Gaza, it's important to notice that we have reached a political agreement in order to enlarge and expand the existing drones regime to cover missiles and their potential transfer to Russia, the existing drones regime to impose sanctions to Iran in order to cover missiles and their potential, by the time being has not happened, but potential transfer to Russia. This includes the same system that we did for Russia, includes production, missile productions. Second, expanding the geographical area of this framework to cover drone and missile deliveries, not only to Russia, but to the whole region of the Middle East and the Red Sea. And third, to expand the list of prohibited drone components. Now we go back to Gaza, where the situation, there is no progress on the release of hostages, there is no prospect of ceasefire, and there is no real easing of the humanitarian catastrophe. So the three things that we need: release of hostages, ceasefire, and humanitarian catastrophe, sorry to say, there is not progress on any one of them. Significant progress. Nothing on the release of hostages, no prospect for a ceasefire, and very little. The Commissioner in charge of humanitarian help provided us with some examples of how the humanitarian support is being obstructed. We call for unhindered access, and it's clear that it is being hindered, and they provide us with concrete examples. So there is not an easing of the humanitarian support, so the humanitarian catastrophe for the Palestinian people continue. I want to insist that there is not going to be a lasting stability in the region as long as the war in Gaza continues. Ministers agreed to invite, once again, Israeli Foreign Minister Katz and the new Palestinian Prime Minister Mustafa to the upcoming FAC. On UNRWA, we were waiting for the report by the independent review group led by Catherine Colonna. We are waiting for it. It's supposed to be delivered today, or issued today. We are going to study it, but most donors have already resumed funding of UNRWA. Most donors has already started funding UNRWA. And it's good that it is like this because the agency is facing a severe funding shortage which may lead to the suspension of operations. Let's hope that the study of the Catherine Colonna Review Group report will allow everybody, and in particular the funding coming from the European Union Commission, to go back to UNRWA. Then we studied the situation in Sudan, the first anniversary of the outbreak of the war between the actors of the military coup in Sudan. In that occasion, we co-chaired last week the France and Germany, the very successful International Humanitarian Conference in Paris. We listened to the United Nations Special Envoy, Mr. Lamarra, former Minister of Algeria, and we discussed how to step up coordination with the United Nations. We want to contribute to a sustainable ceasefire. We want to support regional and international mediation efforts, and we want to enhance and emphasize the importance of cooperation and cooperation among various mediation initiatives. Then we discussed about the situation in Georgia. Foreign ministers expressed their concern for the law of transparency and foreign influence in Georgia. This law is being presented to the Parliament. It was a commitment by the Georgian government to withdraw this law, this project of law, and not to present it again. This has not been fulfilled. Commissioner Borrell and myself, we issued a statement last week stressing that this law is incompatible with United Nations values. I repeat, it's incompatible with the European Union values. And the Commission will have to present an oral report on this development, but we are very much concerned about the fact that this law has been presented again to the Parliament. And now we are going to have a high-level forum on regional security and cooperation with the Gulf Cooperation Council. I will be chairing it shortly, together with the Prime Minister of Qatar. And I want to thank him and all ministers from the Gulf countries to come here to Luxembourg to hold this meeting. This high-level forum on security and cooperation in the region gathers together the Gulf countries and the European Union ministers as an important milestone in our strategic partnership with the Gulf countries. It is the first ever informal meeting in this setup, and we want to reinforce the dialogue and cooperation on security between the European Union, the Gulf cooperation countries, and our respective member states. I don't have to tell you about the security implication of the latest development and the tense situation around Gaza, to see how concretely we can work collectively to calm down the situation and to prevent further escalations. I also hope to hear from partners their perspective on all the shared security concerns, security threats and challenges, and in particular the ideas about how to reinforce security in the Gulf region and beyond. You know that everybody is being very much concerned about the situation in Gaza, the Red Sea, the Iran. Is one of the hottest spots for security around the world, and it's very good that we could have this meeting with our friends from the Gulf Cooperation Council and the European Union member states.
Thank you. So now questions. First one was Thomas Guczka, please.
Thomas Guczka, Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung. High Representative, for those of us who are covering these meetings, this is now the third meeting in a few days where we hear how urgent the delivery of weapons, especially air defense systems, to Ukraine is. European Council, G7, NATO Defense Ministerial by VTC, and today the Jumbo meeting. It's also the third, or let's say the second time that we hear pledges have been made, or as you said, member states have indicated their will to contribute. But whenever we ask individual ministers, no one would tell us concretely what their country commits to. Can you explain to us why that is?
You are right. This is the third or the fourth time that we discuss about the situation and the need for Ukraine to increase the aerial capacity. It was discussed in NATO, and I can say exactly the same thing that the Secretary General of NATO said after the meeting, that there is a common and clear understanding of the need to provide Ukraine with more aerial capacities. Aerial capacities are composed of different types of arms. As I said, there are the launchers, and there are the interceptors, there are the radars, there are F-16 who are coming, there are long range, medium range, and short range. There is at least 20 different types of anti-aerial capacities, and we have been reviewing all of them, who has been doing what, and what else can be done. And each member state, some of them took concrete propositions in the framework of the German alliance. Others went directly to the other issue, which is also important, which is the Czech initiative on ammunition. Others had to go back to their capitals and to take final decisions. I think now it's mature. Now it's everything has been said, and a lot of things have to be done.
Thank you. Next one was Vitaly, Ukrainian TV.
Thank you for the floor. My question is more or less the same. Now, after this meeting, what do you think about the possibility to fulfill the request of President Zelensky, who asked 7 Patriots, or maybe you in some way transform this request, but in general you can fulfill this general request? Thank you.
Well, I'm sorry, but we don't have Patriots here in Brussels.
Mike, could you? Mike.
I said that I'm sorry, but they don't have Patriots here in Brussels. The Patriots are in the capitals, and it's up to them to take the decisions. I want to insist that a launcher without interceptor is useless, and certainly interceptors without launchers are also useless. So we need both things. We need new launchers and a continuous flow of interceptors in order to be used by the launchers. Member states came back to the capitals with a clear understanding of the request, of the needs, and I'm sure they will take decisions about it.
Thank you. Next one, Matthew. Max, you still want the question? Okay. Also, let's go back. Al-Mayadin. You have to come back for the mic in the middle.
Merci beaucoup, Al-Mayadeen TV, Moussa Assi. C'est une chaîne de télévision arabe basée à Beyrouth. Et ma question concerne le Liban. On a vu, durant le sommet de la semaine passée, on a parlé beaucoup du Liban. On a parlé aussi d'un soutien à l'armée libanaise. Après ça, il y a eu une visite du Premier ministre libanais à Paris, rencontre avec M. Macron et un retour du Premier ministre à Beyrouth. Et on a entendu des échos que les nouvelles propositions de Paris n'ont pas été entendues au Liban. La position de Hezbollah, elle est toujours la même. Pas cesser le feu au Liban avant le cessez-le-feu de Gaza. Ma question, en quoi ça concerne aujourd'hui la position européenne pour soutenir l'armée libanaise et dans quel but? Et quelle est l'alternative s'il n'y a pas de cessez-le-feu au Liban avant le cessez-le-feu de Gaza? Merci.
To tell the truth, we haven't discussed in concrete terms the situation in Lebanon, but in the whole region. And we have focused our attention on the answer to the Iran attack to Israel, the sanctions regime, the situation in Gaza, the need to improve humanitarian assistance to the population, the stability of the whole region. But I cannot answer your question because we haven't been discussing deeply the situation in the Lebanon.
And last question, Reuters, Andrew.
Thanks, Andrew Gray from Reuters. High Representative, just to go back to Ukraine and maybe to try again, just to get an answer to the question of why. Why is it taking so long? What do member states, what do capitals tell you when you impress this sense of urgency upon them? Why is it so difficult for them to provide these patriots as the Germans have done? I mean, since this first plea was made by the Ukrainians, one European Union country has come forward, Germany, with one Patriot battery. So why not more?
You understand very well which is the role of the High Representative. It's not in my hand to take this decision. What I'm trying to do, what I'm doing, it's to put the question very high on the understanding of my colleagues, of the ministers of the European Union member states. And that's why we call both foreign affairs and defense ministers to take into consideration both and simultaneously the political dimension together with the defense capacities of member states. Because foreign affairs ministers are not in charge of the army, and the army has to take decisions on a general political framework. That's why both of them were here. Well, in some cases, it was only one, but the idea that it is a decision that affects the military capacity and the geopolitical environment in which foreign policy is being done, at the end, the army, and the defense capacities are part of our foreign policy, foreign and security and defense. I don't want to lose any opportunity to repeat, is a competence of the member states. It's not me, it's not the Commission who have the capacity to decide what kind of military support the member states want or can offer to Ukraine, depending on their own capacities and needs. But today I think that everything has been said and everybody understood and everybody has to in a position to take decisions. But, you know, I cannot take decisions instead of them. I think the meeting was useful because everybody was looking at the others, what you're doing, what we can do, which is the level of ammunition that has to be provided. Everybody has to take into consideration their own capacities and needs and the need to support Ukraine. And the work will continue. The work will continue and the capitals will take the decisions which are entitled to take. I cannot take decisions instead of my colleagues. I just do what I can do is to put, I wouldn't say pressure because I don't pressure my colleagues to try to explain and to make everybody understand and to be aware and to feel not only concerned but ready to act.
Thank you, and that was it. Thank you very much for coming. We have the meeting with the GCC partners, which needs to be prepared. So thank you very much for coming. Big thanks to interpreters, and see you back in Brussels. Bye.